Hi everybody, Carla here. This article was originally published as text on my Medium blog, the link for which you can find in the description of this video. Enjoy! The anxiety of writing out of time. While I'm in the query trenches with my first manuscript, wish me luck, I started writing my second novel. It's very similar to the first one in theme, queer romance minus the speculative elements, but very different in structure. It's based on a fanfic I wrote a couple years ago that I really loved, so I decided to modify it and expand it into a full novel. Most of that expansion comes in the form of flashbacks. I've never really liked flashbacks in fiction, particularly flashbacks that are presented as separate scenes on their own rather than deftly integrated into a scene in the present timeline. I know they can be a useful tool in the writer's toolbox, but I've never liked to use them myself or read them. Most of the time I feel they pull me out of the main narrative in a negative way. They kill the momentum. So when I decided to take on this idea, I was so sure that I would struggle with it. It took me 2 years to write the first draft of my first novel. Then I thought this one would take me 4. Or I would get so frustrated I would quit halfway through and never come back to it. Even if I already had a good 54,000 words in the tank from the foundation of what used to be my fanfic, I worried that I would never get to a finished product. Imagine my surprise when a little under 2 months from the day I started writing, I'm already about halfway done. The flashbacks have been surprisingly easy to handle. I'm using them mainly to tell the character's backstory, the past timeline, which occurs in the present, that is in 2024, and we'll call that timeline B. The present timeline, which happens 10 years in the, or our, future, deals more with the character's emotions about that past. We'll call it timeline A. If your head is spinning right now, don't worry, it'll make sense on paper, I hope. Which is really why I've now smacked right into another source of anxiety that hadn't even occurred to me when I started writing. See, the flashbacks are not in chronological order. The way it works is timeline A takes place in chronological order, and events that happen to the characters are meant to be paralleled or thematically linked to events that happened to them in the past, calling forth a timeline B flashback. Thus, the flashbacks don't feel unnecessary or out of place, but rather they give the reader insight on why the situations in timeline A are affecting the characters the way they are. But that also means that timeline B, taken on its own, is not presented to the reader in a linear fashion. All the flashbacks take place in the second semester of one school year, but some of them might take place near the end of the semester, while others might take place closer to the beginning. And that means I'm working with 2 levels of nonlinearity when I was already freaking out about just one. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been worrying myself silly about this as I write. Will my readers understand that these scenes are out of order? Will they be confused? I don't expect anyone to try and piece together the scenes in the correct order, though, if any of my readers is as crazy a fangirl as I am, I'm sure they'll try. But they shouldn't have to do that to enjoy the story, so I worry. Non-chronological narratives are right up there with time loop storylines in the list of framing devices I told myself I would never use. TM. They can be done mind-blowingly well, but they can also go really, really bad. For every memento out there, there's also a, Speed Racer? Beats me. That's the thing, I guess. No one really remembers the bad ones. I haven't actually seen either of these movies, so kindly lower your weapons now. But even with all this anxiety, I still feel this structure makes my novel better. It heightens the emotions of the principal's storyline and explains the characters' reactions in the present. And as my creative writing professors would often remind me, I need to trust my readers. It's not easy for me to not micromanage every little detail of my writing to make sure it's interpreted the way I want it to be interpreted, but that's a lesson every writer has to learn at some point, I guess. In life, but especially in art, it's important to step outside our comfort zone every once in a while. Even if that comfort zone happens to be linear time. Thank you guys, I'll be back with more medium-sized bites in the near future. And in the meantime, take care and I'll see you all in another video from all the way Freaking Narnia. Bye!